This is where we used to live, and if you've seen our latest vlogs, you know that we've just moved. But this is Binh Thanh, and this is where it all started, and that is actually where our old apartment is.
And this, guys, is where we live now. And believe me, one is definitely better than the other.
I wanted to show you a little bit of our old neighborhood today before Susan introduces you to our new neighborhood later on in the vlog. You're going to get to see two very different parts of Ho Chi Minh City. If you want a McDonald's and a Starbucks, this is not the place to come. You can get so much local food, so many little markets and things set up along the streets. All we had to do was walk out the gate and we could get passport photos, we could get photocopies, we could go to a pharmacy, we could pick up meals. Everything was right here. So you're going to see a place that's very different. Where we move now, where we're living now, completely different from here in Binh Thanh. However, if you are starting your time in Vietnam, Binh Thanh is a great option to look at. Xin chào. Let's see what, I'm not sure what to get. Maybe Than Bún. Can I? One? Than Bún. This is what we've got. I'm not sure what all's in it, to be honest. There's a lot of different types of meat. There's some of this blood, congealed blood in it. There's some vegetables. I see tomato, like all kinds of different cuts of meat. I'm not sure what it all is, but hey, looks pretty good. It smells pretty good. And like I said, you are definitely in Saigon when you come to a place like this, right? Where else would you be? This part is very chewy. It's definitely something from inside. Probably intestine. No, I think, well, maybe. Actually, I have no idea what this is. So it's really hard. I don't know what it is, but it's really chewy. Here we got all kinds of meat. All right, so let's try some of the broth with some of this meat. Not sure what this is either. It's all a bit of a mystery. Yeah, this is good. All right.
You got a big bit of pork there.
Big bit of pork. Let's see, I'm gonna have to just take a bite out of this too. That's definitely my style. That's good. A lot of dishes have a bit of tofu in it. Let's try this one.
How's the broth?
The broth, I would say for me it tastes a little bit fishy. So I feel like I can taste seafood in there. It's quite a rich broth. A lot richer than something like pho, anything like that. All right. Noodles are good. Yeah. I really like the broth. I like the noodles, and I like, you know, the vegetables and stuff in it. Love the pork. Some of this meat, I can't really taste much from it, and it's a little bit, I don't know. I just don't know what I'm eating. So definitely the pork is my favorite. That's a big bit. Whenever we first moved to Vietnam, and for most people when they first move to any new country, you have a bit of a honeymoon period. You want to get out, you want to try lots of different things, you want to, you know, interact a lot. They don't mind the noise and all of that sometimes. So this was definitely, during our honeymoon period, a great place to be. We loved exploring it. We went to the market a lot. We just thought it was a wonderful place to really get a feel for the country. And I still say that, and it's still a place I really love to come because of that. Also, it's famous even throughout Saigon for having cheap street food. A lot of people come here to enjoy this type of food. It has some really good bars too, surprisingly. And tucked in random places, there are also some Western food places, things like a Mexican place and a lot of Japanese restaurants here. So it's not just Vietnamese food, but it's mostly that. And you get this really unique feel for the whole place whenever you're here. And I find that a lot of other parts of Saigon, you don't really get that. So yeah, it's a great place to kind of cut your teeth, enjoy that honeymoon period by soaking everything in. Binh Thanh, especially Ward 21 here, is a great place to come and really get a feel for the country. And it was a great place to start our journey. Come in. All right, so that was $35,000, which is about $1.40. Excellent value for a really traditional style of food. Binh Thanh is lined with places like this. So today we had can bun, but you can try all kinds of dishes. If you're feeling really adventurous, you can even have frog legs here of an evening with a beer. That's just how local this place is. And I really loved our time living here, but there were kind of two big problems. The first reason we moved, probably the commute. The second thing is Binh Thanh is really noisy. Noisy day in, day out. And especially the thing that was hardest for me was there is a funeral band that comes by around 4 o'clock most mornings here. And hearing them every morning at 4 a.m. was really difficult. It sounds like a brass band or something. So in general, the noise was really loud. That was what got me the most. So those two things are the reason that we decided to move out of Binh Thanh. And for me, the new commute is just heaven. It's made a huge change in my life. But that said, Binh Thanh is a great place to live. And you'll be hard pressed to find a place that's more traditional. You'll also be hard pressed to find a place that's busier than this. They really love their cold teas here in Vietnam. So a lot of these shops are selling cold tea. All kinds of sandwiches. There's a few little places selling banh mi. All of that's here. This was a quick look at Binh Thanh before Susan takes you and shows you where we live in District 7. You're going to see a stark difference, but I wouldn't say one's better than the other. They're just totally different experiences. And now, on to Susan.
And this, guys, is where we live now. And believe me, one is definitely better than the other. Sorry, Steph. For sure. The difference between where we used to live and where we live now is like chalk and cheese. So that's our building now, behind the trees there. And these are the streets. Wide, with footpaths and modern buildings. So living in D7 really isn't like traveling at all. It is like living somewhere. And it almost feels like you've left Vietnam and you're now in another country. The difference between this area of District 7 and Binh Thanh, where Steph showed you, is they're worlds apart. It's hard to put words to it. It's nice and quiet here for the most part. It's modern, it's clean. I like it. However, having said that, when you first arrive somewhere, there is a honeymoon period, and it's great to use that time to step out and indulge in the local culture. But in time, it does become... Sometimes you just want to hide away and get a little bit of peace. This way you can just duck out and get your fill of Vietnam when you want to. Whereas when we were living in Binh Thanh, it was in your face. Now there aren't the little street side stalls here like Steph had her lunch at. Instead, we've got the Western brands. I don't need to stop and eat at any of these, I don't think, for you to understand what they'd be like. Look here, a main street in District 7. Not a car. Not a car at all. You can really get out and walk on the streets. It's lovely. But yeah, there's no vibe, there's no soul. It's just a modern city. Not all District 7 is devoid of Vietnamese culture. You can find little coffee shops like this one on the side of the road, on the busiest streets. Now for the most part you'll find a lot of businesses, business offices, multinational chains in this area. Let's go for a little bit of a walk. I need to go to the ATM up here. So banking and foreign multinationals are what you'll mostly find in this area, and of course a lot of Vietnamese franchises as well. So instead of local, quaint and cheap, you've got big, wide and expensive. We've also got the usual Starbucks here. We've got a mall across the road there. We showed you this mall in the previous vlog, please take a look. We've got even an Argentinian steakhouse. I'm sure that's very expensive. And down the end of the street here, we've got a beautiful walking area and a lake. Well, I think it's a lake. It's a kind of sectioned off part of the river. So yeah, quite pretty area. And very different from the hustle, bustle, manic chaos of your usual Saigon. Stack of restaurants there at the back of the mall. So it's very Western, or it's semi-Western. A lot of green spaces. It's such a stark difference, it's unbelievable. Now of course if you're traveling in Vietnam, you're here on a vacation, I definitely don't recommend you stay in District 7 because you're not going to get any Vietnamese vibe at all. You're not going to get a feel for the country. You're not going to see anything. I mean, you might as well stay home if this is what you're traveling for. But if you're living here long term, this is certainly a nice break. It's nice to be able to walk on the footpath. Look at this. Oh my God, what a stark difference, eh? Incredible. It's nice to be able to exercise freely. Just go for a walk. But it is bland, isn't it? Another good thing about D7 though, when you're walking around, is there's lots of places with air conditioning. So you can just duck inside and cool down a bit before you head off on your way again. But let's go in the mall and do exactly that. Oh yeah, that's better. Already like 15 degrees cooler, guys. That's incredible. Yes, thank you. Whew. It's hot these days. It's hot every day. Well, I'm back down here near the supermarket. I've got to pick up a few odds and ends. The two different sides of Saigon are worlds apart. Anyway, that's why I love Saigon. We love it here in Vietnam. You got the best of both worlds. That's really the key. To have what you want, you just short taxi right away from the next experience. So that's really lovely. Alright guys, I'm going to sign off. I've been gabbling on way too much. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. We're Girls on the Loose. Bye bye for now.